And good afternoon and good afternoon and maybe evening. I think there might be some folks from across the Atlantic Ocean, right? Isn't that the one that goes to Europe? I have to think about what ocean. Anyway, so hello everybody. Today we're going to have some fun. I'm going to do, well, I have a few topics in mind. We'll see how time plays on our side. And then I'm going to finish off, play some music for a while too today. So I've kind of break this up in two parts. Teach you a little something, learn you something, and then maybe just play some of my favorite songs while you're here. And then what I'm going to suggest is if you have something in mind that you'd like to learn on your instrument, put it in the chat or send me an email, and then I'll keep that in mind for the upcoming classes and workshops that I do. All right? Also, if you can, put it in the chat. Put what organ you have, or you can name your name, whatever your name is, followed by the organ. That helps as well, because sometimes when I'm referencing it, I'll know if someone has a model that's not represented here today. I'll kind of say, on your model, do this, or what have you. Some of the things are very similar in all of the models, however. So for today, I'm going to open up a little number first to get kind of warmed up, and then we'll go into some teaching and stuff, okay? So let's see here. This is a song I haven't played in a while. All right. Let's see here. Here we go. Thank you. Always a fun song to play. That song was called, if you haven't figured it out by now, I'm sure you know, These Boots Are Made for Walking. Now, I purposely didn't get fancy on the fingers. I just kind of used the notes there. Sometimes we try to get fancier than we need to. We've got to let the instrument do the work. So that was These Boots Are Made for Walking, and the style that I used, it was called Mr. A-Go-Go. Now, I think on the Marquees and the EXs, it's called A-Go-Go on some of the models that have it, okay? The reason why it was named Mr. A-Go-Go was on the Symphony, Bill kind of worked around the system and pulled on styles from the Marquees and the Arias and what have you into this marvelous instrument. And some of the places that he put them in, he couldn't keep the same title. And I'll kind of, maybe if I have time, I'll share a little bit of that a little bit later. So anyway, so that was what I did there. And then, of course, when I did the fake it, I activated the fake it, and then I just played it on the bottom. I didn't do anything on my own. All right. Now to switch gears, I want to talk a little bit about today. I thought about this, and this can be a two-class topic, or it could be a one-class topic, depending on how much I show. There's a on the left side, I was going to say right side. On the left side of a lot of the organs, you have these things called custom buttons. All right? And the custom buttons do certain things, and they work similar to that of presets, but they're a little different than presets. And what they're designed for is you can put some of your favorite features there, if you will. And so I'm going to go over a couple things that you can do with these custom buttons. A lot of times people just leave it where it's at. All right. By default, now I don't know if I could show you this. Well, you know what? Let me do this. I'm going to put it back to the factory because I have it saved a certain way for a reason. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset it. See if my volume's got goofed up. Yes. So hopefully I put that back. Okay, so many of you have these custom buttons. Some of the organs have, my head's going to be cut off if I do that. Some of you have, there are some organs that have 2, there's some that have 3, there's some that have 4, and there's some that have 5 custom buttons, okay? Typically, the first one is the same on most of the models, okay? And what the first one does, let's see if I can pull this up on the screen here. Oh, of course, it's not going to show up on the screen. Well, I'll tell you what it does, and then we'll go into how you can change them. What the first one does is when you select it, if you have a rhythm, it tells you all of the rhythms that's on in your variations. Okay? The second one is what's called the drawbars. So if you have that, it typically has what's called the drawbars, and that's how you can change your organ settings. The third one has touch bars and foot switches, and what that means is you can, when you pull it up on the screen, it'll actually give you an option to adjust the touch bars, the left or the right, and what comes up is what's called next preset. Okay? And what next preset does is if you activate it, when you touch the right touch bar or the left, it'll go one direction or the other. Now I'm going to circle back around to this. I'm just telling you what's in there now. Number 4 is the most common one. Almost all of the organs that have, regardless of how many you have, number 4 might be the same as number 3 on some, like for example, I think I want to say the Rialto or Inspire, maybe a couple of the organs. This one here gives you what's called the preset information. Okay? And I know most of us know that because that's like the most common one that we use. It's a different number depending on the model. And then number 5 pulls up the screen. Now, let me just do this. And I'm going to change the screen so you can see it up on the top there. So I'm going to pull up that screen so you can see that. So number 1 gives me all the styles. And if I pick another style, you'll see it gives you, in this case, I have 10, 11 variations, different styles per button, okay? And then for those of you who have the Symphony, the one on the bottom, you select that one, it'll give you all the new Symphony styles, okay? Now if I push 2, it gives you the drawbars. And I'm not going to demonstrate in detail what all these things do. I'm just going to do little snippets because I'm going to talk about how you can change the touch bars. But in short, when you use your flute tabs on the organ, you know, a lot of you have these flute tabs right over here. I'm going to point to it right here and then pull it back up on the screen. You know, a lot of you have 16, 8, 4, 2, and then depending on the model, you have more flute tabs than others, okay? Well, if you have those flute tabs, when you press them, if you activate the screen, you'll see what's happening. So watch, I'm going to hit 16, 8. I'm just going to turn them all on. Okay? So in this case, the way the organ is set up, whenever I select one of these, that's what the drawbars do. Okay? So essentially, you can change it on the screen, and you can do individual specific changes, or you could just hit the flute tabs that's on the organ and you get preset volumes. Right now, let me just turn off, let me put on 16, 8, and 4 by itself. So everything else is off, and this is the organ sound that you get. Let me turn this back to this setting right here. Give me 1 second. Okay. Okay, so this is 16, 8, and 4 in this case. Now watch what happens. I'm just going to touch the 4-foot, my finger there. I'm going to touch the one that says 4. And we touched on organ sounds and flutes. So I'm not going to do a whole workshop. Just give you a quick demonstration. So if I touch that 4, listen to the organ sound. You see how the tone changed? Now I'm going to turn it up to 9 or 10 and watch the difference. You hear kind of the difference? So you have on the organ these flute tabs that we mentioned, I think, a couple weeks ago. And I said, you can create any organ sound you want. Keep the 16. And I went through and I said, you can change this around and you get a different sound. But some people want to get real creative. You can put on the drawbar feature. And so when you're activating it, and then you can go into individually and change the volumes of each individual ones. Now again, I'm going to say this again. Technically, these are buttons. So you can push the buttons and do whatever you want. If you don't like what you get, just hit the reset button and start over. Okay? So it's okay to experiment. Now, that is on custom button number 3. Okay? Let me go back to the screen here. Custom 4, which may be a different number on a different model, is what's called the preset information. Okay? Now, some of the organs, some of you have where the preset information, it'll tell you every preset that from 1 through 10, 0 is typically the one on top there, okay? Now right now I have just the general presets on. But for example, let me put on the big band category. So big band category, those are my setups. So number 1 has trombone, and you have the muted trumpet on the lower right keyboard. That's what that slash means. Okay, number 2, breathy sax. But you'll notice the very top one up here, right there. All right, that one there is a preset number. That's 0. So if you ever hear us talk about 0 position, it doesn't say 0, but it is a 0. You could look at it a couple ways. You could say it's 0, you could say it's 11. So in this case here. Now, some of the organs, some of the models do not have a 0 in the category presets or the bank presets. So if you turn this feature on and you don't see something there, that just means you don't have a 0 position. Okay? So that's what Custom 4 does. And then Custom 5 has this little keyboard that comes up. This is kind of fun if you have a recording of somebody that's playing. Some of you know Marco Mendez, yes? Okay, he's a pretty skilled player. A lot of times I'll hear a recording of his that I have, and I listen to it, and then I'll stop and I'll play. I'm like, what did he do there? I have no idea. And then I just play it back, and I'll put this screen on, and you'll see the notes that's playing. So whether you're playing or if you're playing back a recording, you know, everything that you're doing is going to be shown on there. Or if you're playing back a recording, that's on the USB or floppy or whatever you have. Okay. So now let's talk about, for a second, how you can change those, because if you have custom buttons, maybe I should put a different angle on here. Give me a second here so I can stop doing this. I always have this ingenious idea and then I think, no, that's not going to work. I'll move it up close when I play a little bit later. Stay still, please. I don't want to disconnect my computer. Okay. I don't know if I could do both here.
Robert,
Yes.
I have a question. You said you can bring that screen up and see what Marco was playing. How? I'm not getting that.
It's custom number 5.
Right?
So when
Right.
you're playing back a USB of anybody, so for example, I have a USB in here and I'm gonna play it. Okay?
Okay.
Let me access it. Let's see what I got here. I'm trying to make this so it can have, so I don't have to keep going back and forth here. So you could see me and the organ and the TV at the same time. One of these days I'll get another camera. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that. It says Besame Mucho, you know, wonderful world. Anyway, I'm just going to play the first one. Okay, so right now, Besame Mucho is playing, okay? Now I'm going to press Custom 5. Can you see that on the screen there?
Yeah, I see.
So it's basically showing everything that the person's doing as they're playing. The chord. And in this case, the person was playing 3 finger chords.
Wow, that's cool.
That's all it's doing.
What are those other things under it, under the keys?
What's that?
What are those other things under the keys? On the
Handles.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Okay. What are the red? They look like clothespins under the lower keyboard.
Are you
What's
talking
that?
about here?
Yeah. Oh,
Those
I see. I see what it is. Okay.
Yeah, it's the lower keyboard. It was the chord that was
Correct.
being played.
Correct.
So,
I
yeah.
see.
What?
Okay.
So that's the chord, and this is the melody.
Huh. I've never seen that screen, so I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. So now, be advised, if you are playing, if your organ has a CD player, okay, and you play it, that feature will not,
Right.
that feature, it won't apply to that. If you are playing a USB, pay close attention, and you're playing the MP files, Okay, let me clarify. So many of you have a USB that when you play it, the EX, EY models,
Yep.
okay, on the lower right here,
Mhm.
you access the files the same way, but depending on how you access them is the type of file that it is. So if you put in a USB and you come over and you push one of the arrow buttons and the song list comes up, okay, that's in the Lowrey format. If it's recorded and played back that way, then it'll work,
Oh,
okay? If you press the audio button and then you play that song, it's playing in what's called an MP format.
okay.
That screen will not apply,
Right.
okay?
Get that.
So if you have a USB and you have to access it by pressing the audio button, so the audio, think of it like many of you have had an organ with a CD player, okay? And in the Lowrey organs, you had a USB and a CD. To access the files from the USB to play back, it was towards the right side of the panel up here. The CD player was down here. Well, when the EX series came out, all of those CDs now work they're like an MP format. And so they're accessed just by the USB, so everything was located in one spot. So I'll say it again, to access MP files, you have to press the audio button first. Okay?
Mhm.
Now, here's what happens. Someone gets a USB stick and it has the 50 songs. And they put the stick in and they go, there's nothing on it. It says no data found. Well, on the EX series, those songs were originally recorded in MP only. So you have to press the audio. Now, I went back and I converted them and I made it to work in both formats, so I wouldn't have that problem. But you'll hear it in the Lowrey format or the MP. So that option, just to say again, we've learned by repetition, is only works when you're playing a USB in a Lowrey format, okay? Not as a CD, which is MP, or your audio button on the EX.
Mhm.
All right, so that is essentially the custom buttons, what's there. But you may find yourself saying, I don't need that custom button. I don't need this one. I don't need that one. I typically keep number 1, which pulls up my rhythm styles, because a lot of times when I'm playing, sometimes I like to experiment while I'm playing. I like to switch from one rhythm to the other, and it's usually good to do it within the same group. I usually keep number 4 because I like to see what my sounds are. When I'm playing the organ or I'm doing concerts or whatever, I'm always turning the preset information screen. Okay, those are the 2 that are most important to me. But if you want to change one of the custom buttons, because a lot of people, the drawbars, for example, they don't want to get into doing all the little drawbars, and if they're going to change organ sounds, they're just going to hit the flute tabs on the organ and let it, because they're usually preset at levels that will work, and all you have to do is change them. But some people like to get into the little nitty gritty and they'll keep that. But some people, I'm not going to use that. So here's a little something that you can do. All right. I'm going to find a feature on here, all right, that I need to use. And I usually do this for the class, all right. And how you access the feature is you go to the right of the screen, all right, and there's a button that says feature, and then in parentheses it says clear. It's not a feature clear button, it's a feature or a clear button, okay? So in other words, when you need to access the features, you push it. When you want to clear the screen and go back to the home screen, you push it again and then it activates as a clear, all right? So that's why we just refer to it as a feature clear, even though it's one or the other. So I'm going to access it. And it doesn't matter which one you access. I'm just going to show you what I do. But let's say I want to let's say I want to change my custom to button to do something else. Let's see. And let's say, oh, here's one. There we go. Glide settings. Let's say I like to change my glides a lot. Doesn't matter. Some people like to change their split. Okay? Because of the way they play. They want more the left hand, more the right hand. Now, so you have to go through the feature, and I got to go to page 7, right? And then I have to touch it, and then I got to change my split. Well, a lot of times people turn on the instrument, they don't have to do 4 or 5 steps every time. So if that's a feature that you like to go to a lot, maybe put that in your custom button. All right, so here's how I do it. I went to the feature. In this case, I've got the split. All right? Now, I'm not changing the split or anything right now. I'm just activating the feature. All right? Now, I want to save that in custom too because I don't think I need the drawbars. Okay? So here's what you're going to do. Now, we went over saving presets before. It's a very similar process. Now, for those of you that I can see, thumbs up. Can you see this screen okay? Okay. So what I'm going to do is push the Memorize button. I want to save this feature to custom number 2. So what I'm going to do is push Memorize. And it says Memorizing 2. All right? Now, right now, we want to save a custom button, so I'm going to push which custom number? Which one did I say?
2.
2. All right. This way I know you're paying attention to me. All right. So I'm going to push on the left side, I'm going to push custom 2, and it just simply pops up when you do that. Memorizing to custom 2. Now, at this point, you have 2 options. Screen display, value as settings. Next week, I'm going to stay on this topic. I'm going to do this a couple times and in a couple different ways too. All right? Screen display means if I save it to custom 2, when I turn on the organ, when I push custom 2, it's going to always pull up that feature for me to change, okay? So I'm going to leave it there, and this one kind of usually gets people thinking a little bit, okay? But right now I'm going to save the screen display, all right? So I've got custom number 2, screen display. To confirm it, you press Memorize. So when I press Memorize, Memorize to custom 2. So here's what I just did. I pulled up the feature that I wanted. I pressed Memorize. I pushed the custom button that I want to save it to, and then I chose one of these 2. Currently, I chose Screen Display, and then I confirm it by pressing Memorize. Okay? So, I'm going to turn off the organ, let it power back on, tell a quick joke while I'm waiting. Why did the chicken cross the road? To go buy a Lowrey organ. Okay, it's back on. All right. So now I turn on the organ. I want to change my split. Okay? So all I have to do at this point is press Custom 2. And it comes up automatically. And then you can decide where you want to split. Now, word of caution on this note. If you're one that likes to change splits, okay, you've probably discovered by now, if you're not used to doing this and you might try this, you'll see this is the lower keyboard, okay? Most important thing to remember is this. Once you change where you want the split, clear the screen. Okay? Make note, big star. Once you change the split where you want it, get rid of the screen. Push the clear button. So for the fun of it, I'm going to move the split to the left. I'll just move it down to C sharp. Okay? Actually D. Okay? You see what I'm doing there? Now I'm hitting the C sharp. If I hit the C note, it kind of tells you where it's going to be at. Okay? So I'm going to hit C. Now here's what's going to happen. If I have a sound on the lower, okay, so what happens is, because I press C, from that C point on down is now the left hand. Okay? Now let me pull up the screen so you can see this. Right? So, okay, I move the split right here on the C note. Now, let me put on a different instrument. A French horn. It's going to sound kind of low, but here we go. Now you're going to hear the left-hand chord sound. You hear the difference? That's where I changed the split. So let me go back to the split. I'm going to push Custom 2. I pull up the screen. I want to change my split again. All right, so this time I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on a rhythm. I'll put on this swing band and get it going here. Turn it down a little bit. Okay. So while I'm playing, I want to change the split. Okay? So I'm going to move the split to here. Okay? Now, word of caution was, once you got it where you want it, clear the screen. Because what happens is people forget to clear the screen, and then they start to play, and every time they hit a chord in the left hand, they're constantly changing the split. Because that's what it's doing. It's saying change the split. So every time I play, you start getting all this weird stuff happening because the screen is still up, so it still thinks you're trying to change the split. Okay? So I put it back to over here. That's where it's at now. Clear the screen. And now when I play, that's where the split will be. Okay? That is the basic way to change your custom buttons. Basically what you're doing is you're putting favorite features in there. Okay? There's other things you can put in there, but this could be a 2-hour class if I get carried away. So I want to kind of just stop right there a little bit. Any questions about that? Raise your hand, unmute yourself. Any comments?
Yes. Why, Sue, Kelly, why don't we just leave the whole lower keyboard free without having to change it?
You mean don't change it?
Right.
Leave it as it. Leave it where
on the left.
Are you asking leave it where leave it where the split is normally?
No. What if you leave it open? What if you don't have a split at all?
Well, if you don't have a split at all, what happens is, because your organ, when you put on a rhythm and a style setup or a rhythm preset, depending on your organ, okay, it puts on a sound here and it puts on a sound here. So when you're playing, so you have another sound to play. So when you're changing presets, so you have another melody there. You could have a saxophone and a clarinet, a trumpet and a trombone, whatever. And so when you're playing, that's when we're on Zoom and sometimes we're playing, you can't see everything we're doing. all we're doing is going from keyboard to the other, and it's giving us two different sounds all the time. So it's a benefit because sometimes you want a different sound, and the last thing you want to do is push a preset or hit another button. You can just move your hand and continue playing.
Okay.
So that's why. Now, the reason why somebody like to move the split is when they're playing, depending on your playing style, sometimes they want more room for their melody.
Right. Right.
Okay? Some people play certain chords that when they play the chord, the split is designed that it's ideal for most chord players. But every now and then there's a chord player that plays a G7th and they go beyond the split and their thumb will go up here. So when I play, the furthest I go on the keyboard is, let me pull it up on the screen there. Like here's a D minor. See that F? When I do a G7th, I don't go beyond that F. Some people play a G7th and they have to add that G note in there, but what happens is they're in the melody note. Now listen. Did you hear that? Watch. Then they're starting to play the melody note that's kind of... So when they hit a chord, and they go, something ain't sounding right. So a lot of times they'll move the split 2 notes to the right so that way they play. It's rare that someone needs to do that. A lot of times it's easier to move the split to the left to give yourself more room for the melody because you can always move your hand down an octave and play the chords that way.
Well, they just leave it there then.
You could just leave it there unless you need more room for one direction to the other.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
There's some questions in the chat that I missed. Let's see here. Oh, the value and settings. Yeah, we'll go over the values and settings option next week because there's a couple things with that you want to know. But the comment that he put there is pretty accurate. But this way you'll have to come back next week. Plus I got a few extra little goodies next week. Okay? All right. Any other questions on that? I thought that was only going to take me 15 minutes. And I just rambled on. All right. So what I'm going to do now, any questions? Any other questions? Good question, Sue. Any others? All right. Now what I'm going to do is I just want to play some music for you. I'm going to warm up. By the way, I'm going to do a 50s, 60s tribute concert tomorrow. It's kind of a short notice, but if you're around, I'll send a link out if you want to join us. I have some students coming here tomorrow. I'll broadcast it if you have some time in the afternoon. But right now I'm going to play some of my favorite songs here. I had actually a few people that have, some of you have the Lowrey Symphony. Yes, well, Marquee, Aria. Okay. I'm going to play some of my favorite songs on here. I haven't played in a while. I had a few people that asked. I said, I'll play a few of my faves.
Robert, I do have one more question. It's kind of dumb, but I don't know the answer.
Okay.
How do you know when to change that on the lower keyboard to change your split screen?
In other words, how do you know when to decide to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
When you're playing the song, or
basically when you're playing, if you're playing your left hand, if you're running into that split keyboard with your left hand, then you need to move it. Most people don't need to because they're easy play, or if they play chords, they don't need to. Or if they're playing the melody and they go far down and they run into the left hand.
Yeah, well, I see Jerome and Joe. I see them moving toward.
They go towards, but it's rare that you need more room because here's why.
Okay.
This part of the keyboard, there's two octaves from where the split is from by default, okay? The split goes from here, starting at this F sharp here. There's an F sharp and there's F sharp. So it's 2.5 octaves, okay?
Okay.
In 99% of the cases, and I only say that because there might be 1% of the time it may not be what I think. I don't know. But in most cases, this sound that's programmed on this keyboard is very similar to as if you were playing the upper keyboard here. Okay? When you sit down and play, most of us, when they play on the upper keyboard, we play in this range from here to here.
Right.
It's rare that we play up here, but sometimes it calls for it, or you're doing a finality or ending a big note up there or something. But it's rare that you just play up here the whole time.
Joe does a lot, I notice.
He does.
He does.
It's interesting you say that because he does do a
Yes,
lot of
he
that.
does.
His ears, I think, can tolerate some of the sounds. He gets some of those high trumpets in there. I have a tendency to not go that high. Everybody's different, but most of us play in this range.
Right.
Okay? So when they designed this lower right keyboard, they designed it to be very similar to here. So you get the full use of the 2.5 octaves. Years ago, it was never the case. So what happened is a lot of people didn't play this last octave, and it was hard to take advantage of it. But anyway, that's just kind of an FYI. All right? Okay. Yes.
How would, let's see, to get it to go back to the default of the draw bars, does that happen when you turn the organ off, or do
No,
you?
it will not. Turning your organ off or pressing the reset button here will not do that. Because if you save a feature there that you really like,
Mm-hmm.
if it went away every time you turn the organ off, that kind of defeats the purpose of saving it there and going, because then you'd have to go through all the steps again and put it there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So the way to get that back to the factories, you have to do a reset in the screen or the 5-finger. Okay. So in other
Okay.
words, you push feature, scroll to page 10, and then you do a total reset.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's what I did earlier because I had it set up differently, and then I went through it. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to play.
Robert?
Yes.
On the Aria, and I thought it was applicable to the A series as well. If you want to reset any of those custom buttons back, you just hold the custom button down and press the reset button on the left, like by the power button.
You probably
it'll
could do
reset
that
that.
too. Let's see. All right. So press the memory button or custom button and reset.
Press the custom button you want to reset.
Well, let's see what happens.
What number? Custom button what?
Well, I changed number 2, so I pressed
that's
number
right.
2. So that went back. Does it change all of them or just that one?
I think it's just the one that you held down when you press the
Well,
reset
let
button.
me do 2 of them again real quick. Let me just see. What did I have? Split. Okay. Set, split, memorize 2, memorize. And let's put on, I'm going to put the same one on number 3 just for the sake of the memorize 3, memorize. Okay, so I have the same one on both. Now what I'm going to do is press and hold 2 and reset. Okay. And let's see. 1 is like it, 2 is back to normal, 3 stays. So yes. So if you do that, oops. So if you changed Brenda, the other way to do it, or everybody actually, not just you, Brenda, but if you change custom button 2 and 3 or 4, whatever one, and you want number 3 or 4 to stay, that you change, the one that you want to change back, if you press the custom button and then press the reset button and wait for it, it'll reset just that one.
Hey, thank you.
No extra charge for that, folks.
That is cool, though. I didn't.
Thank you, Gary. That was Gary.
Thank you,
Anyway,
Gary.
I'll send you the bill. I'll send you the bill.
Yes, I'll pay you in virtual dollars.
Okay.
All right, I want to play some music for you. I was just rehearsing earlier for some other stuff. I got a concert coming up on Saturday. I'm going out in the community, and I was just kind of because I think I'm going to take this organ with me. And I'm renting a truck, and so I'm taking this one, and I was just kind of going through, and I was like, oh my God, I forgot how amazing I loved playing the Lowrey Symphony. So the Lowrey Symphony, for those of you who don't know, or you may have heard, it was actually originally the platform of an organ called the Lowrey Sterling
Oh,
and the Lowrey Patriot. All right, now, there was another symphony that was introduced back in 2000 or way back before the pandemic. But it was really the same thing as a Lowrey Patriot. And it was marketed to the European market. And then Lowrey figured out that if they wanted to sell the Lowrey Patriot, it wasn't going to probably go over very well in UK. So they changed the name to the Symphony, and they basically kept the same. So when we designed the Symphony, it was literally a totally different model, okay? And what Bill Curry did is, long story short, is he took a lot of the styles and presets and sounds, not everything, can't do it all, and he took it from the Marquee, some from the Aria, and he put them in the instruments. So a lot of the styles that people just absolutely loved. You know, when I opened up with the show earlier, I opened up with These Boots Are Made for Walking. Well, that was a style that originally came out on a different model, not on this one. So another one that came out on the Lowrey well, how do I say another one? A lot of them. Actually, let me look at my list here so I can pick one. I think I have a list here. Here we go. I'll leave that up there for a moment so you can look. Some great styles in there. So I'm going to just play a bunch of, I'm not going to play full songs because I want to play a bunch of these. Not all of them, but about a half a dozen or so. So like 9 to 5 came out on the Grand Marquee. Let's see. I'm just one. Cabaret came out on the Marquee. Chariots came out on the Marquee. Downtown Rock was introduced in the Marquee. Got Swing was introduced in the Marquee. Just the Way You Are was Aria. There's the Mr. Go-Go style. Gentle Mind, great Glenn Campbell style, came out in the Marquee. Oscar Swing was Aria. The Christmas song was Aria. The Way We Were was Aria. Venus was Grand Marquee. You Don't Know Me was Grand Marquee. It's just a lot of great styles. So I'll just play a bunch of little songettes for you, and it's a good little warm-up for me for my concert this Saturday. So I got them loaded in alphabetical order, so it's easier for me to find now. And I'm going to use my custom 4 button, preset information. And let's see here. Oh, we'll do a little Gentle Mind, Mr. Gentle Mind, Glenn Campbell. And actually, watch how I do this. My screen share still on there? Let me get rid of my screen share. There we go. There, is it off now? Okay. I thought I pushed the right button. You ever push the wrong button on your computer? No? No one does that? But if you look at the song Mr. Gentle Mind, the easy play version, it is such an easy song. I'll just watch the fingers do the work. Here we go. applause, please. Hold the applause. Now, by the way, I'm just using what the rhythm preset or style setup gives you, okay? So no fancy tricks there. Here's one that I've fallen in love with. Of course, I just like a lot of music by Ray Charles, okay? This style was originally introduced only on the Lowrey Aria, believe it or not. And it's a song called You Don't Know Me. Now what I'm going to do is I'm not going to play just that song because, and I always like to remind everyone, you have styles that are titled a certain way, and sometimes people don't play certain styles because they think, oh, I can only play that song with it. So just remember, those styles are designed to be played both ways. So this one, You Don't Know Me, I'll do a little bit of You Don't Know Me, and then I'll play something else that'll go great with it, and then I'll come back to You Don't Know Me. Here we go. Watch this, here we go. Week, and that's just a great style. So I don't even notice I went from one song to the other and just came right back. It's got that same classic feel, but it has that original flavor of You Don't Know Me. That was the name of the style. And then I discovered some styles here. You know, for example, this one was introduced on the Grand Marquee, and it was for the song Venus. The name of the rhythm style was called Venus. Boy, they made that easy, didn't they? But, you know, I've had some students that think, oh, you know, I don't play Venus all the time because I don't want to play Venus all the time, even though it's a nice song. And so, you know, I was like, well, you can use it for so many other great songs. Here we go. Here's a little song called Venus. All right. And when I do that, I'm just going to use rhythm preset. And then watch all these other great songs you can play with them. such a smooth style. It's really a great, smooth Latin style that works for so many great songs. And of course, over the years, when I got started in Fletcher Music, and they said, you better learn a lot of big band tunes. And they mentioned names like Glenn Miller and Artie Shaw and Benny Goodman. I'm like, who are those guys? And then I quickly discovered I like this music. And so another hit from back when the crooners did was songs like I've Got the World on a String. But I love the Michael Bublé version. Is absolutely phenomenal. But I love the style because you can do so many other great tunes with it. So let's do a little bit of short little medley for you. Here we go. This one's called Got Swing. So if you have that style, I'm just using the setup that it gives you. Fun. I hope you're enjoying the music. I had a couple little oops in there, but you know what? Who cares, right? Just have fun playing. And of course, here's a style that commonly does not get used. Hopefully it's not you, but because they say, I got to wait for that right time of the year. All right? Well, the style is called the Christmas song. So if you have that, you can play the song called the Christmas song. Now, is this the song Chipmunks Roasting on an Open Fire? Is that how it goes? No? Oh, no, chestnuts, not chipmunks. I'm thinking of the Chipmunk song. All right? But check this out. So here's the Christmas song. I'll just play a little bit, and then I'll a couple of the great songs you could play with it. Not that time of the year. Let's see here. Just like the song, too. Introduction. Boy, you could have a lot of fun with that style. Play a lot of great standards and what have you. Now, this styles rather, called Cabaret, obviously was designed for the song Cabaret. Well, when the symphony was introduced, I made this a very big part of my demonstration. I played it so much to the point I hated playing Cabaret. I was like, okay, even I'm getting tired of playing the song. So I stopped playing it for a while. But here's what I discovered. If you want to have a little fun with this, it works great for the song Cabaret, but you can play so many other cool things with this. Watch. We'll do Cabaret first for a little bit, and I'll show you a few other songs that work nicely with this. Well, it's great. I'm having some fun here, burning calories here. Oh, I'll play a couple more. And I thought of it. I should play that one too. Have a little fun with that one. Anyone here know the name Oscar Peterson? Show of hands. The guy's just really good, isn't he? So this is really cool. What was very significant about organs like the Aria and the Marquee and the Grand Marquee is the capacity, memory-wise. The more memory you have, the more it can do, and so forth. And so Bill had a little bit of a challenge when he wanted to take some of these styles and put it in here, because some of those styles, if you hold the fill-in, it does a fill-in, but then becomes a whole different pattern. So for example, I'm going to play a style here that was called Oscar Swing for Oscar Peterson. And it has a lot of the styling, his piano styling in the fills and in the background and so forth. And he was a very gifted jazz pianist, and he's just phenomenal player. And what I'm going to do a couple times, I'll hit the fill-in. I'm not going to use a touch bar. I'll just use my right foot switch. And then notice the fills, and I'll kind of point them out. And then at one point, what I'm going to do is hold the fill-in, let it do its fill-in for a couple measures or whatever long it takes, and then continue to hold it and not let go. And what you'll discover is it'll go into a whole nother rhythmic pattern, a whole pattern that you can play with anything else as well. So I'll play The Way You Look Tonight first. holding it. Well, I hope you're having some fun today. Gave you some education, learning you stuff, and then just played some wonderful styles. I like to just kind of show that off, and then hopefully I told you what I did and what sound and what I did to get those special features. It is a phenomenal instrument. I know a lot of you have something similar, and I can spend hours playing it, but it's a very rare breed because the only way to make the symphonies, we had to have existing models to transform these instruments. And you know, you don't get organs like Marquees anymore and Arias. You don't get those in on trade. And so sometimes when we have a couple of these in stock, I like to kind of show it off and put it out there because it's a way to get a lot of the great styles and sounds. And what Bill did was very clever, by the way, because the rhythm presets that he put in here are the same rhythm presets that were designed on those instruments that had them. You know, so now obviously if you have a Marquee or an Aria, you have both vintage and the style setup, so it has one of those. But anyway, if you have any of those instruments that has those styles, everything that I showed you today applies. If it's something that you may put it on your wish list, okay? We have a couple on stock, and actually we have 2 of these available, one in Florida, one in Arizona. Get with your PA, find out what it will be. We got some really great incentives happening this time. And all I ask is you have an open mind and see one of your staff members. If you don't know who your PA is, you can call me. I represent all of the personal assistants, so I can get you in the right direction or to make sure you're taken care of. Anyway, with that said, did you learn something today? Yes, thumbs up, hopefully. Did you get some good music? Say yes. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. From time to time, I like to give some of the students online just a jingle to say hi and whatever. If you have any questions or anything, I'm here for you. We're all here for you. I want to say thank you very much for all that you do. And again, for those of you who this might be a great stepping stone, check it out because it's very reasonable in pricing compared to what we've had to do with some of the other models in pricing. Anyway, thank you so much. See you next week. I got a great class continuing what we did, plus a couple other little things that I'm going to sneak in. I noticed as I was playing today, or teaching, I noticed as I was going through that, the other things kind of spiral down, go in a rabbit hole of goodies, if you will. All right, so stay safe, keep playing music, and mwah, take care. See you soon.